Since I arrived in the Philippines a month ago, there have been a few things, just observations that I've made, that have caught my attention or even found to be just a little bit shocking. And I'm going to discuss them here because I think they're worth a quick mention. When I arrived at my studio condo in Cebu City, firstly, I couldn't believe how small it was. But after discussions with other expats, apparently between 18 and 22 square meters is the norm around here, especially in the city. Now, I think mine is around 22, but it does feel like you're high up in a tower of rabbit hutches. Anyway, that said, when I arrived, I was presented with a folder, and inside were details setting out the house rules that the residents of the building had to adhere to. This was covering all different subjects from garbage collections to wearing the appropriate attire in the swimming pool and other various rules and regulations. However, there were one or two in particular that caught my attention. I literally couldn't believe what I was reading. Now, firstly, let me say that there is a black mark system where you are awarded penalty points that will be lodged against you, depending on the severity of the offence and the number of black marks for the particular offence if you continue to repeat it. There should also be financial penalties awarded against you for the more serious ones. So let's take a look at one or two of these. So we start off with improper swimming attire, 1 penalty point, fair enough. Boarding the elevator with wet clothes, 2 penalty points. Vandalism, getting more serious now, with 3 penalty points. But if we take a little look under the security and safety section, we can see that this carrying firearm or any weapon at the common area without a valid permit to carry and authorization from the PMO. And for this, you get 3 penalty points plus endorsement to the proper authority. But wait, it gets better. Because Section 3.4, carrying possessions of explosives. Carrying or possession of explosives. Now, this gets you, you're going to be in trouble for this, because this gets you, for this offence, a whopping 5 whole penalty points, plus endorsements to the proper authorities. I find it shocking that for either of those offences, you wouldn't be instantaneously kicked out and face some kind of a jail term. In the UK, there would be an armed response unit on the way within minutes and police helicopters circling above. I just don't know what else to say about this, but I guess it really is more fun in the Philippines. At least I now know what not to do. So let's move on to something else that surprised me. Changing the topic completely is the issue of the highly sought after lighter skin in the Philippines. They don't seem to be content with the tone of their skin, although most Westerners tend to crave the more exotic, dark, morena girls. Nonetheless, it's a highly sought after to have a lighter skin. And as I've been wandering around the various supermarkets, there are all kinds of weird and wonderful products to give a promise of a lighter tone skin. From moisturizers to suntan lotion to various different products, all promising to help you go just a little bit more Michael Jackson. You can't buy shampoo or toothpaste without it containing something that will in some way lighten your skin. It's almost to the point of obsession. Maybe it's just part of the culture. As humans, we always tend to want what we don't have, because we think that what we don't have is better than what we've already got. Apparently, most Pinoy Filipino guys crave after light-skinned, slightly chubby, or to put it more delicately, girls with a slightly fuller figure. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that most Westerners crave smaller, petite, exotic, dark-skinned girls. On that basis, perhaps we should do a straight swap and trade Western women with Filipinas all over the world, and I'm sure we could find a way to ship them over somehow in enormous quantities. I've even heard stories from 1 or 2 expats here of girls actually approaching them and suggesting that they might want to impregnate them free from all responsibility, just as long as they can have that kid with a lighter skin tone. Now, moving on a rare occasion, I'll take a little stroll through to IT Park. It's only around 10 minutes walk, and you can bet that more often than not, you will find that there are kids begging with their hand out. And not far away, you'll usually see the parents. It's more often than not the mother who has specifically told the kids, quick, there's a foreigner, he's got money, go get it. Now you have a choice. You can either give them some small change, which exacerbates the problem for other foreigners, or you can go buy them some food, maybe a pastry or snack or something. Or you can just do nothing, ignore them, and continue walking. And so far, that's the advice that most people have given me. Because if you start giving and they see you again the next day, you'll get exactly the same problem over and over again. And they'll recognize you as being a soft touch. Whereas if they know that they're going to get absolutely nothing from you, then the chances are that they will leave you alone and stop bothering you. Now, that's not such a problem in the expat bubble, but outside of that, it can start to be a real nuisance. As much as we all might want to help occasionally, I'm certainly not here to help solve the financial struggles of this country or its people. That's down to those that run the country. Anyway, however you choose to handle this is down to you. But it's something that you need to be aware of because it gets kind of annoying 2 or 3 times a day. The Philippines has an uncanny knack of creating frustration for Westerners who haven't anticipated or are not used to a substandard level of service or attention when it comes to getting things done properly. Sometimes they don't get done at all, and even when they do, it's not quite how we would expect. They seem to have their own unique way of doing things out here. And the more time that you spend here, the more apparent that this becomes. There have been many instances over the past few weeks. In my condo residence, I swim twice a day. Usually first thing in the morning because it's nice and cool. And if it's a bit cloudy or then the sun sets on an evening, I've lost count of the number of times I've had to remind people, please remember to turn the pool lights on when it gets dark. Half the time when you find that you're approaching 5:30 in an evening and there's half a dozen people in the pool, it gets dark very quickly and nobody can see what the hell they're doing. Now, usually at this point, I cut my swim short because I can't see the edge of the pool. Some nights somebody will come through and remember to turn them on while you're swimming, and other nights they won't. But no matter how many times you tell people, the usual standardized response in the Philippines is, sorry, sir, it's just the way it is. In an apartment adjacent to where I am, I could see that through the window there was a dog quite distressed that had been tied to a chair for almost 2 days. That was literally barking non-stop. Now, the owner had clearly gone away overnight, so just left it there. Now, on one hand, I wanted to give the dog a medal for sheer persistence. It literally barely stopped for 5 to 10 minutes throughout the 2 days. I made a couple of quick 10-second videos and decided I was going to go down to the lobby and talk to reception and security about it. Now, back in the West, there would at least been some concern, and they might have wanted to find out which apartment was, who was the owner, and maybe have a word with them, as it was distressing the dog and causing a nuisance to the other residents. Instead, the guards thought that it was very funny that the dog had large pointy ears and made a joke about it that it looked like a Halloween dog. Now, although this was a little bit humorous, I was bringing to their attention that there was some kind of concern or complaint, and it completely escaped them. It was almost as if they were saying, hey, what's the problem? No big deal, it's just a dog. This is the Philippines, and this is the way we do things here. Also, we have the skim tax. Now, there have been quite a few occasions when I've gone and paid for something, and would you know, they didn't have the right amount of change. And yet, the person that goes after me, who is a Filipino, gets change given quite freely. It's almost as if they're sort of saying you're a foreigner we owe you 10, 15 pesos, can't you just overlook it? And this hasn't happened just once or twice, it's been quite a few. If you go to a market, for example, and you're buying some fruit or some vegetables, you notice that if you go and approach and you buy it yourself, suddenly the price starts to jump significantly more than it otherwise would be. And I guess that's just part and parcel of the fact that you are presumed to be um, a wealthy person compared to them. And whether that's true or not, it's still irritating to find that what will cost somebody else 50 pesos will cost you 75. I guess that's just the way it is as well. Now, you have a choice. You can either accept the fact that there are going to be occasions that are going to frustrate the hell out of you and let it go, or you can let it get to you. I've come to understand that it's just the way that it is here. Sometimes things are just different and you need to therefore lower your expectations accordingly. These things are not the end of the world, but they are real differences in the way that things happen. And lots of these things, these small little things, start to build over time. You just need to be aware that if you're considering flying halfway around the world to what is considered to be a developing nation, some things will annoy you, disappoint you, or confuse you, or even make you angry or shock you. Either way, it's just the way things are. You'll get used to it. One last thing that never ceases to amaze me here is a phenomenon that I'm not even sure how to describe, but it's the jumble of wires running along telegraph poles on the side of roads, even in the city. I took a quick snapshot of one yesterday as I was going shopping. The absolute mess of electricity and telegraph wires is insane. I get the feeling that all it takes is for one of these poles to come down and it's lights out for everyone. God forbid there was ever a fault or a problem that needed somebody to actually get up there and work their way through that labyrinth of whatever the hell it is all jumbled up. But it must be the most daunting task ever. The thing is that it's not just a one-off. They are literally everywhere on every street, in every road. Some of them are even worse than the one I'm going to picture now. Anyway, I'll put it up on screen so you can admire this work of art that seems to be all over the Philippines.